the presence of time as we honor these new adults in our midst, many of whom some of us have watched grow up from tiny little babies to this moment. But who among us can't feel the power and presence of time and eternity as we watch a new generation grow up? Who is not reminded of some graduation of our own, some moment of transition and growing into a new day? Aristotle said that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So while you've been in school studying, educating your minds, you've been coming to church and educating your hearts. I've been profoundly moved by this senior class, by your sermons on Youth Sunday. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But first I want to say a little bit about the difference between schooling and education. Here's some words from a former professor of mine, Cornel West, who explains that schooling is matriculation in order to gain access to a degree. It's a process of credentialization, whereas education is a deep questioning in such a way that you engage in the formation of attention, a move from the trivial to the substantial, from the frivolous to the serious. Issues of what it means to be human, life, death, sorrow. What kind of person am I going to be? What quality of integrity will I live with? What kind of service will I render? What kind of legacy will I bequeath to those who come after? What will be my relation to the dead? To your grandmother and grandfather, to Shakespeare and Emerson and Mahatma Gandhi, to those who have gone before, but those who should play a role in the process of your formation so that you can cultivate yourself, so that you can learn to engage reality rather than escape reality. So the sermons that you delivered on Youth Sunday this year are still resonant. How many people were here or were watching online our Youth Sunday? So about half of the folks here in the sanctuary. I'm not sure about those listening online. How many were raising your hands in your living rooms or back porches or wherever you're watching us online today? But those of you, I want to, first of all, Brendan, your message about how to be a white, hetero, atheist male, that was a powerful message. Now, of course, you started by telling us the story of growing up, and as you were a little boy and you saw your brother had glasses, you wanted to have glasses. So you said you were having trouble seeing, you went to the eye doctor, and then you pretended and faked and failed your exam on purpose so that you could get some glasses. And then I thought it was really slick how you just told your parents about that for the first time from this pulpit on Youth Sunday. That was good. And they told me they had not heard that before, so that was good. But what you talked about was how you recognize that you see the world through your own lens. We all see the world through our own lens, through our own social location, through those experiences that we have. And that is such a profound, what we call in my world of theology, we call that hermeneutical humility. Being humble about our interpretation of the world, knowing that we need to hear other perspectives of other people. As a male, we need to hear from women about what their experience of the world is like so that we can understand something closer to the truth. And it's true across race, across sexual orientation, gender identity, and all the kinds of differences, rich and poor, American and other, to be able to be in the world, know who we are, know how we see, and be courageous about speaking, bringing our voice to the conversation, but listening to other voices and understanding that importance. We used to give on this graduation Sunday years ago the Jefferson Bible to all of our graduates. Now, if you know about the Jefferson Bible, Thomas Jefferson took all 4 Gospels of the Bible and he cut out the passages that he thought were probably true, the real passages of Jesus, and he pasted them all together. He created one gospel out of the 4. And he was brilliant. He had both English and Greek and the Hebrew versions. But he had one gospel. And guess what that gospel, that Jesus in that gospel reflected? That Jesus in that gospel was a perfect example of the values and the sensibilities of an 18th century New World American intellectual. Because we see the world through our own eyes. We think we know universal truth, and yet all we can really see is how the world looks from our perspective. And you spoke to that beautifully, and that's why I know what a fantastic leader you're going to be in the future, because you've shown us not only your leadership skills through your time in our youth group and our choir, but also because you have this important ability. Now, that's what America needs today, are leaders who can see through their own perspective, but listen to other perspectives. Fantastic message. Now, Kirsten, your message, talking about being a transgender person in America today, talk about seeing things through a different lens, talk about having an important perspective. You bring a perspective on the world that I know I certainly can't imagine. And I really hand it to you for the way that you spoke about your life experiences very openly to this congregation, and the pain, the moments of feeling like you wanted your life to end, and then how you rode through that and how you made it to this moment, and how inspiring that is. You know, what I love about this, I was at a conference some years ago. And what they did was they had all of us, they put stations around the room, and then they had us number off, and we all had to go to one of the stations. They all represented different identities in our world today, and particularly in America. So we had, African American here. Didn't matter what your race was, you got assigned a number. African American, an immigrant without documentation, a Muslim, a transgender person, a gay and lesbian person, and we all were assigned a place. And then we were asked in each group, which group among these has the hardest time in our society today? And every single group said it was the transgender community was the most difficult row to hoe. Now, it's been some years since I went to that conference, and some developments have happened to make things better. But I'll tell you that the experiences that you had and that you shared with us about the difficulties that you face were powerful and important, and I appreciate what you've been through and how it has made you a more accepting and loving person. That is your ability to take your own pain and broken heart and turn it around and help and love other people and accept them into life and understanding is a beautiful thing. And I want to remind you, and I want to remind all of us, though, that the trick is not to love the lovable people, not to love the people who love us. That's easy. Jesus didn't say, go love the lovable people. Jesus said, love even your enemies. And so I challenge you, I charge you and all of us to continue to develop our acceptance and our love, even for those who may hate us, even for those who don't understand us. Because when we do that, then we've mastered love. And I think you have the capacity, as we all do, to do that. Now, Emma, your message touched me profoundly. And I will be remembering that message for a long time, and I'll be sharing that message with a lot of people, because you talked about your fantastic freshman year and how you stood in this pulpit in 9th grade and coming of age, and you felt so confident about your life, and you went into high school and you joined the swimming team, and you were doing fantastic as a swimmer and really achieving as a swimmer and being seen by coaches and teammates as being a phenomenal swimmer with an incredibly promising future. And then you came down with mono before your sophomore year, before the swim season, and you couldn't swim like you could before. It completely threw you. And you went through such a difficult time of facing the changes and the the disappointments that you had to face. Now, we all go through disappointments in life, whether it's about our relationship that didn't work out the way that we wanted it to, or a marriage that didn't work out the way we wanted it to, or our careers, or our children, or our financial fortunes, or our health. It's part of life. We all go through these moments of profound disappointment when our expectations and hopes get dashed. But you did such an incredible job of overcoming those disappointments, reframing your reality, figuring out how to adjust your attitude for what's real today rather than focusing on what you hoped would happen that's not going to happen. To me, I could take you around to many homes throughout this city right now to meet a lot of adults who've been through a difficult disappointment who have not recovered yet from that disappointment. They struggle with depression and other things, as you talked about, but have not been able to treat it or have not been able to get through it. You have. And I want to say something that is really important, because when you learn a lesson like this at this young of an age, it really sets you up for a really positive future. What happens is when you're going along your life like this and then you fall in a way like this the first time, and then you make it back up, you don't go back to where you were, you go back up higher. Because when you were here, you were untested. We didn't know how you would handle the difficulty of disappointment and failure and struggle. But once you've hit that and you made it back up, you don't go to back where you were, you go up higher. And that's where you are, and you've shown us that, and you've taught us something truly important about life. And Maya, you are such an inspiration to me, and you have been. I've watched you from the time you were a little girl, and then, of course, when you were diagnosed with a very severe, debilitating illness. And I watched you pushing yourself around in a wheelchair, getting your parents pushing you around in a wheelchair, eventually you pushing yourself around in a wheelchair, fighting for your life as a child, and growing up and struggling and keeping your head up through it all. I watched how your parents handled that, your family, your friends, this church, and everybody just rallying around you. But you know, it's said that difficulty reveals character. And it has revealed an incredible character in you. And I'm just so proud to see how you walk now. And we know how much you had to struggle through physical therapy and everything to get yourself to where you are today. You've shown us that when somebody puts their mind to something, when somebody is willing to just keep their head up no matter what they're facing, that they can do incredible things. And you are now a vocal advocate for justice. You use your gifts to try to make the world a better place for other people. You're now going on to with a full-ride scholarship to college. We're so proud of you, Maya. Your story is a true inspiration to us. This had to be one of the most amazing and meaningful youth Sundays that I can remember. Brooklyn, your story of how you setting expectations too high, we all have that experience. You know, we grow up in a world where people say, you can do anything you want to do when you grow up. I mean, it reminds me of a story a mother told her daughter, you can do anything you want to do when you grow up. What do you want to be when you grow up? And she said, a giraffe. Mom's like, well, okay, maybe not anything you want to be when you grow up. You know, Bill Gates, I bet Bill Gates would have been a terrible ballet dancer. But man, he was good at what he does in the computer industry and business. You can't be anything you want to be, but you have to be you and whoever you're going to be. And you told that story beautifully. And I'm reminded of the last human freedom that nobody can ever take away from us. Viktor Frankl talks about this. Viktor Frankl was a survivor of the concentration camps in Auschwitz. And Frankl talks about how he would see these prisoners in the concentration camps who would be bounding through, helping others, giving away their last piece of bread, keeping their attitude up, using their time and energy to help others. And he said, why is it that some can do that and others didn't? And he realized that the last human freedom is our freedom to choose our attitude in any given situation. You spoke to that, and you've been an example of that. You have such a bright future. And you all, this is wisdom that you all have brought to this congregation that is is truly profound. So I want to conclude with this idea that the core, it comes from William James, one of the great public intellectuals of the last century, who said the core problem of religion is the call for help. That is, knowing that there will be moments of such relative helplessness and impotence that you must call for help. The willingness to call for help, the cry for help. I'm wounded, I'm scared, I'm bruised, I need help. It's a sign of dependency. That's religion. It's not isolated independence. It's not rapacious individualism. It's acknowledging that we need each other. No one gets through this life alone. And in fact, getting an education is an admission that I need to learn. I need others. Again, back to my professor, Cornel West, he said these words in a message he gave at Gordon College Chapel a few years ago. He said, "Remember, we are featherless, two-legged, linguistic, conscious creatures born between urine and feces." Just think about that for a second. That's us, all of us, emerging in the funk and the stink and the stench of that love push that gets us out. West says, I could stand up here as if I'm so fashionable in my three-piece suit, but when it comes down to the naked essentials of being human, it was mom's pushing. I know my body will be the culinary delight of terrestrial worms one day, very, very soon, and no one of us gets out of space and time alive. The Socratic question is, who are you? What do you want to be? What is the source of your hope? Why, in fact, do you make your trajectory from the womb to the tomb that is waiting for you? That's a terrifying question. It's a frightening question. And it's precisely what it means to be wrestling with what it means to be human. And it's hard to wrestle with such questions in our times, especially for young people. Because we're constantly bombarded by be successful, gain access to status, climb your way up the social hierarchy based on power and prestige, on money and finances. But that's not what life is all about. There's nothing wrong with that. Having money, prestige, success in all kinds of different ways. But if you don't have love, you have nothing. And so that's why I say I am spiritual and religious. Because religion comes from the Latin word religare, which means to bind together. People binding their lives together. The call for help, to be humble and to know that I can't do this alone. We need one another, and other people need me. And I'm going to be part of a community, and I'm going to help other people as I've been helped to get to this point in my life. And so as you grow up, I hope you don't grow up and grow out and become some of the nuns who don't have religion and don't support community as if we can just do this on our own, because people need people like you, the young people and the next generation, and we need to keep these kinds of religious communities going. So I hope you'll be spiritual and religious and bind your life together and remember, no matter how smart you get, how many degrees you get, how much success you get, Terrence, you're going to be a famous rapper someday. I believe that. And you didn't give a sermon, but I've been so impressed by your talent and all that you do. I've seen you online. You've got thousands of people all over the country checking you out because of your music, because of the things you write. And, all of you have so much. And no matter what success you get, no matter how far you go, Never think that you can do this on your own. Always remember those times when you've cried for help, and always remember that you can cry for help and we'll be here for you, and you have a home and you're never alone. We love you. Congratulations and amen.
We're so happy you're visiting with us online today. We love connecting with people all across the country and around the world, sharing our powerful message of love beyond belief.
There's something new happening here. You can now join All Souls as a virtual member. Our virtual membership is designed for friends who live outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and who want to engage with All Souls in a meaningful way.
You can be part of an expanding family, a global family really, wherever you are. If you live in Oklahoma,
Ohio,
or Orange County, California,
Canada,
or Cameroon. By becoming a virtual member, you'll be able to deepen your connections with members and friends here in Tulsa and with members wherever you are.
Each week, you'll receive special All Souls content tailored for you, our virtual members. Virtual members have access to pastoral care, to personal prayers, and also receive invitations to exclusive web events.
You can learn more, and if you're ready, you can become a virtual member today by visiting allsoulschurch.org/virtual membership.
We're grateful our ministries are having a positive impact on your life, and we want to share the good news of love beyond belief with more and more people. So no matter what, we need your support to keep this ministry growing and thriving, so please consider making a gift today. You can do so by texting
LOVEBB for Love Beyond Belief to 73256, or simply visit our website. You are a blessing in our lives. May you be blessed.
And be a blessing.